we're back in order here at the school committee meeting. We have a few things to get done next. So I guess for camera purposes, welcome back to the Winthrop School Committee meeting, May 8th, 2017. It's now 7:40 p.m. and we'll be going into our general school committee meeting now. We've already done roll call and the Pledge of Allegiance. This is being recorded and may be televised live for the remainder of the meeting. We've just finished up with interviews for candidates for the interim superintendent position, and what I'd like to ask the school committee to do at this point is to take your sort of ballot, or I guess I'd say, or form in front of you, and we have had several resumes to review for another set of interviews Monday, May 15th. And to narrow down the field, I'd like people to write their top 3 of the resumes they have had a chance to review since, I think, Thursday or Friday of last week, and then pass them down to me. Ms. Hames and I will publicly tally them, and we will talk about whether or not we want to bring in the top 4, 5, or 6. Yes, Mr. Perrin.
I just want to be sure, speaking to Glenn, without giving up any names, because I'm not sure they're public at this time.
Can't hear you.
I just wanted to talk to Glenn Kuchar and ask a quick question. I don't want to give up any names without having authorization to do it at this early stage. But is there any indication, I didn't see anything on any of these, the list for the interim candidate list, that are purely looking just for the interim position and not looking to move forward? Or in continuing that role, should it turn out that way?
I think 3 or 4 of them have expressed an interest purely in the interim position. The others, I believe, would be interested in continuing either through a formal process to go forward or any action the school committee might consider at a later time.
Are there any that are, I'm sorry, are there any that are just limited to this, that are currently have left their role as superintendents and retired, that would just be purely interim? Because I think it would make a difference on how we rank these candidates as to whether or not they are available to move forward, should they do an exceptional job in the role.
So are you looking for Mr. Kuchar to give us the names of those people that are looking only for a 1-year position?
If that's possible.
Well, first, let me confirm that all of these candidates are aware that their names will be discussed in public.
Okay.
So there's no confidentiality anticipated for any of these candidates.
Thank you.
I can tell you that Mr. Talo is a retired superintendent. Mr. Lisi is a retired superintendent. Mr. McElduff is a retired superintendent. And I believe you may have heard one of your earlier candidates indicate an interest only in the interim status. The others are aspiring or current or former superintendents who are not retired and are looking to continue service in one form or another. They are all aware that this is an interim superintendency with no implied commitment beyond 1 year.
Yes.
So I just want to be clear on the process that we're going
Yes.
to do now. So we're going to choose 3 out of the 12 people for the external candidates for an interview. So we're not doing anything with the people we met tonight.
Correct.
Okay, just want to be clear on that. Okay.
Yep. And out of the 3 that we all have written on our paper, we might decide that we'll bring in the top 6, or the top 3, or the top, kind of, as a group, I feel like we need to discuss how many people, how deep are we willing to go, or do we feel like we need to go on Monday? Do we have time to interview 6 people on Monday, or have we,
I have to break it up.
So, are there any questions about what we're doing right now with our little ballots here? Everybody good? All right, so I'd ask if you're finished with that. And this is only to sort of make it efficient. It's not that it's a private process. We're gonna, yep.
In the interest of transparency, I think our names should be public with this.
They are gonna be, that's
Okay,
why they're on
perfect.
each
Just
sheet,
wanted-
yeah. And then, will you help me?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just going to go in order that I have in front of me. Mr. Vecchia has asked to see Ms. Howard, Dr. Lisi, and Mr. Martin. Mr. Capabianco has asked to see Ms. Howard, Dr. Lisi, and Mr. Martin. President Driscoll has asked to see Dr. Lisi, Mr. Mastrocola, and Ms. Howard. Ms. Callis has asked to see Dr. Cataldo, Mr. Bush, and Ms. Howard. Mr. Perrin has asked to see Badalamont, Mr. Badalamont, I don't know how to say it, Badalamont, yes? Ms. Howard and Dr. Lisi. Mr. Holden has asked to see Dr. Lisi, Mr. Metzler, and Mr. Mastrocola. And I have asked to see Dr. Cataldo, Dr. Lisi, and Mr. Metzler. And we're just going to take a minute now to tally it up. Yep. What's the best way to do this?
I think I'll just tell you a minute for each candidate.
While Ms. Hames is looking at the numbers, how do people feel about starting the next school committee on Monday, the 15th at 5:30 p.m.? Are you able to do that, President Driscoll? I know Mr. Holden is up in the air. I can do that. Would you be able to do that? Ms. Callis is checking. I think if a couple people can't be there, I think that we probably should wait till 6 o'clock, because I think for validity of our interviews, I think it's important that as much of the school committee who's able to be here is here.
You can do that?
You can be there at 5:30?
Yep.
Oh, all right. So we'll post the meeting for Monday, the 15th for 5:30. So
You're here.
So I feel like if we have 5 interviews starting at 5:30, we're probably going to be interviewing until about 9 p.m.-ish. Does anyone have a feeling or would like to make a motion on how many candidates we bring in on Monday?
So I think it depends on the big difference.
Okay.
If there are a bunch that are all very high, then we should just take those.
Okay, no matter what the
think we need to-
amount is. Mr. Perrin?
I think we should have the broadest list as we can, if we have duplicate numbers.
Okay.
But everyone should have their opportunity to interview candidates that are on their list, because I think it's important.
So you're saying we should bring in everybody that everyone has written down,
Correct.
not necessarily the top candidates? Okay.
Top 3.
Okay. Those are the
Do we have 7? Oh, I see, okay.
I just did them by.
Perfect. All right, I'm going to read how it sorted itself out. So with six, I don't want to say votes, or with six referrals, nominations, we have Dr. Lisi. With 5, we have Lisa Howard. With 3, we have Mr. Martin. With 1, well, I'll go down to 2. With 2, we have Dr. Cataldo, 2 for Mr. Metzner, and then 1 each, Mr. Mastrocola, Mr. Bush, and Mr. Badalament. I would make a motion to, oh, go ahead. Mr.
I counted different numbers
You did?
in that.
Okay. Do you want to recheck it? What, was there a specific number that you were?
From
Head
my
off.
math, I think I had Howard and Lisi at both 5 or 6.
Howard is 5.
Howard is 5, and I had Lisi with 6.
Okay, I thought you said 3 for Howard. That's my mistake then.
Oh.
No.
Oh, no.
Did I?
Howard had
No, you
5.
said 5.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I
that's
said
fine.
3 for the
You
next
said 3
person.
too.
Oh, he does.
You want me
Okay.
I
to
thought you
repeat
said
it?
3.
Yes, if
Yeah.
you don't mind.
Let me repeat it. Dr. Lisi, 6. Lisa Howard, 5. Mr. Martin, 3. Dr. Cataldo, 2. Mr. Metzger, 2. Master Cola, 1. Bush, 1. Badalament, 1.
Yeah, that's 2.
2 for Master Cole.
Yeah, Bill said Master.
So 6,
I don't think it's gonna
11,
make that much difference.
14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22. So there's 22 votes. How many people are there? So we have 1 extra somehow. 2.
I think Martin might be the extra one. I think.
There are 2 for Martin or 3 for Martin?
From my hearing, and just from an outside, I thought there were 2 for Martin.
Yeah.
The first 2.
There's 2 for Martin.
Okay.
Right.
So that's 21 votes, so
Perfect.
So I'd like to make a motion that we do a runoff with just the folks who got a vote and we're not voting on other people. Would that make sense?
I can't hear that motion either, sorry.
I'd like to make a motion that we do a runoff, just considering people who got maybe more than one vote.
so anyone that wasn't voted for would not be brought in. So,
No,
We have
yeah,
8.
You keep this.
oh.
That
So-
way people.
So that leaves us with 8 interviews.
Is that, go ahead, Mr. Craig.
Do we want to drop only the candidates that have 1 vote and bring us back to about 6? Wouldn't that?
That would be 6. Are you making a motion, or?
I'll make a motion that we take the top and eliminate those that only received 1 vote. Then we'll have a broad enough.
That's what I meant to say.
we'll have
I'll
a-
second that.
All right, second by Mrs. Callis.
We're
So
going to
that,
take the top candidates and eliminate.
anyone with 2 or more votes. So the motion is that we would take any candidate that has 2 or more nominations or votes, and that would leave us eliminating Bush and Badalament. Those 2 candidates had 1 vote, and that would leave us with 6 candidates to interview next Monday. We have a motion by Vice Chair Perrin, we have a second by Dr. Callis. Is there a discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I think unanimously. So, Mr. Kuchar, yes?
Can you just confirm the names?
Yes. We have Joseph Lisi, Lisa Howard, Rashawn Martin, Barbara Cataldo, and Earl Metzler.
And Joe
And Joe Mastrocola.
Mastrocola. One more.
Oh, I'm sorry. And Joe Mastrocola. Thank you.
And if you want to schedule them 45 minutes apart,
Do we want to schedule them 30 or 5 minutes apart?
Why don't we set it at, what? Why don't we set it at 30 and give a little bit of room in the event that someone moves a little slower or has more information to give us? in the questions, so there's more follow-up questions, but I think 30 minutes, I think we moved on pretty good with that 30-minute time frame this time.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Didn't we go over for both candidates the 30 minutes? this
We did.
time? We did? Okay, so I think that we should probably schedule 45 minutes to be fair to the candidates so that they're not hanging around.
Okay. I'd like to throw out there maybe a compromise of 40 minutes between candidates. I think we're going to be interviewing from 5:30 till after 9 PM if we go 45 minutes for everyone. And if we could have candidates prepared to start their interview at 40 minutes, go ahead.
I think it's many candidates for a long time.
It
We
is.
should split it in half, 3 and 3 then.
Sorry?
So,
Tell me what you mean by that.
3-1-9-3.
I think, yeah, split the total we have coming in and just split it between 2 nights.
Okay. So that would leave us with interviews on the 15th and the 22nd?
I think it's a good idea.
I think that's a good idea.
Should we just be, oh,
Can you pass that microphone down to him?
There's two mics there, I'm
Yeah.
trying to make it easy for you guys.
Thank you.
this is very open process, obviously, but just in the interest of it, should we create a special meeting before the 22nd?
I'm available to do that. How does the rest of the committee feel about that?
Well, I thought that we had already told folks that we would be having interviews possibly on the 15th and on the 22nd.
We did tell people that we'd be interviewing on the 15th and possibly bringing finalists back for a second interview on the 22nd. I mean, I feel like if we need to split that up, then our plan has to change. You know, I don't think we're doing anything secretly. That was the original plan, but if we're going to agree to take in
Additional.
6 interviews,
And let's make them meaningful in that we have time to actually reflect on them. I mean, they all blend together after about 3 or 4 of these interviews. So you really want to stay on top of it and break it up to 3 and 3 so that they're, you know, they're fresh in your mind as you start grading them out.
actually, looking at the calendar, that's actually a difficult week. For to do a second night, unless we wanted to do a second night this week, which is awful short notice for our candidates. Mr.
So
Lucero?
my recommendation then probably would be do the 15th, do the 22nd, and then if you want to schedule another meeting the week of the 22nd to come in and have a discussion about who you want to choose, or if you want to bring somebody, then do it that way. Because to try to schedule you folks all around different dates now is going to be real difficult.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do think it's a difficult time of year, like looking forward to that. The week of the 22nd, there's the school pride night on the Tuesday, there's the band concert on the 24th.
Right.
You know, this is just the time of year where there's not extra time. So I would make a motion that we interview 3 candidates on the 15th and 3 candidates on the 22nd.
Second.
Second by Mr. Vecchia. Any discussion on the motion? This is all still first round. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
So will your start time be 5:30 for both nights? Or just,
I actually don't see the need to start at 5:30.
so do you want to start at 6?
6 for both nights?
Yeah, so we'll
Okay.
move the time back to 6. Mr. Kuchar, do you have any advice for us?
You want to do 2 nights, 3 interviews per night, starting at 5:30?
No, starting at 6. We'll do 6, 6:40, 7:20.
And the first night, if I may, the 15th that's just, will be a meeting just for interviews. So there'll be no
That's right,
meeting
that was a
afterwards.
special meeting
Right.
anyway. I wonder if we should do 4 that night.
It wouldn't be a bad thing. Because that will take less time away
Right.
from our regular business.
Mr. Massaro is reminding us that the 15th was a special school committee meeting.
It's just for
Only for
interviews.
interviews, there's no business that needs to be handled that night. Maybe we should interview 4 candidates that night and then 2 on the 22nd.
Okay.
Any objection to that? So do I need to make a re-motion or?
No, I don't think so.
What's that? I don't think we need to start at 5:30.
Do the last interview at 8 o'clock on the 15th.
Yeah, and you'll be fine.
reasonable, you'll be done at 8:40.
Yeah, I think if we start at 6.
Be fair to the
Yeah, I think I think it works better for the committee to start at 6, and people won't be rushing from their jobs and from their
And
appointments.
then on the 22nd at 6 and 6:40.
Exactly.
Perfect.
All right, thank you. I appreciate everybody being flexible with this process. So, Mr. Kuchar, you'll be contacting the candidates and scheduling the interviews, is that correct?
I will be in touch with
Ms. Hames?
tomorrow morning, and we'll figure out the scheduling program. It should come together pretty quickly.
Okay. All right. On to business. All right, so we have no delegates and visitors tonight. We did have some correspondence. There's one email in our packet. I know that we've all received at least 2 other emails in the last 24 hours, I would say, and I would like to include them tonight if that's okay with everyone. They're basically along the same lines. It's so weird. One is from Miss Shannon Vieira, and it's probably easier to just read it off my phone. They are all with concerns about reducing teachers and ESPs in the next academic year. The second email is from Julia Collins that did go to all of us. And there's another email from, hold on one second. Sandra Aresti. So these are all parents of elementary school children who are very concerned about class size and elimination of teachers and ESPs. They're concerned for academic rigor as well as safety in the schools, and they have sent these emails to every member of the town council and every member of the school committee. And I just want to publicly thank them for being a part of the process, and it's important that parents remain involved through this, and it's not for, your emails have been read and we take them seriously, is what I'll say about that. Next is we have the approval of the minutes from April 24th, 2017. We had these minutes for review in our packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved?
Motion by Mr. Vecchia, second by Mr. Capabianco. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Abstained. Mr. Holton, thank you. Next, we have the warrants. We have SVW 17-19 in the amount of $165,101.31. And we have a payroll warrant, SPW 17-20, in the amount of $714,840.34. Motion to take them all together. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Capabianco. Any discussion on the warrants? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next, we have budget transfers. Again, tonight we have a lengthy budget transfer, and that's typically Ms. Eccles cleaning up the budget. Is there anything you want to say, Ms. Eccles, about that stands out?
Not really, it's just, covering certain lines, and there'll be probably one or two more rounds to go.
Motion to approve the budget transfers that were in our packet tonight. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Callis. Any discussion on the budget transfers?
Just a quick question.
Yes.
How are we looking for the end of the year? And we've been doing a lot of these transfers.
It's an ongoing process. You know, a lot of things we don't know about until the end of the year, you know, certain.
Can't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You have to.
It's an ongoing process. Some of the things we won't know until the end of the year, the electric bills, gas bills, the end of the tuitions, things like that, but we're doing our best to cover everything. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be perfect until the end of the year, but we're doing our best.
All right.
Tina.
Motion, so we have a motion.
You have a motion, table.
Yeah,
And seconded.
okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I think this is last one, so, yeah. All right. Motion passes unanimously, thank you. We have no buildings and grounds requests, no curriculum report. In terms of subcommittee reports, we had a budget subcommittee. Mr. Capianco, would you like to report on that?
Yes, I actually don't have the forms in front of me, but we had a very good budget subcommittee meeting. We had a very good budget subcommittee meeting a couple weeks ago. Mr. Macero presented some budget proposals. It was the same proposals that were actually presented at the FinCom meeting the night beforehand. Like I said, I do not have those sheets available with me. My apologies.
Okay.
Were there any votes taken?
There were not any votes taken.
Thank you. We're down to superintendent's report.
So with that, I don't think you'll need a mic on here, but I'll try. In regards to the budget, we have been making some progress as we move along into the budget. The budget from the town manager has been recommended to town council at a $22,697, $22,697,000. That budget, when we met with the budget subcommittee and with the FinCom, we talked about what that would handle in positions. So we were looking at possible 7 teachers, 7 ESPs, and of course the 4 CODA positions that have been restructured into occupational therapist, as well as the curriculum director. We also had a custodian that was on that budget, because we have a custodian that retired at the Fort Banks this July, and so therefore we're not going to fill that position. We're going to utilize that maintenance person that we are bringing on for the fields and stuff, while we'll utilize that person in the fall, and then in the winter while we're waiting for that field to be built. So we figure we have some advantages in both areas. So each day the budget changes in different aspects. We've looked at what we're doing. In regards to the ESPs, we currently will have 20 ESPs at the William P. Gorman School. 17 of those will be designated right now because of the laws and the requirements under special education. They will be for special education. 3 of them right now will be designated for the kindergarten classrooms. So we're looking at 6 kindergarten classrooms next year, so we're looking at 1 para per 2 classrooms. That's currently what we're taking a look at as we go through these discussions. And we will have at the Fort Banks, first grade will remain with 7 teachers, and second grade, it is being recommended right now from the principal that they'll go with 6 classes at that point, 6 sections. At the Cummings School, the way the sections break down right now is it's 6 sections for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. However, Mr. Herity's taking a look at, we have 2 ELL teachers. He'd like to do an ELL inclusion classroom in grade 3 and make that a 7-section class for grade 3. And so that's one of the areas that we're taking a look at as well. And then at the middle school, we will have 7 sections of grade 7 and grade 8, and we will have 6 sections at grade 6, which is what we currently had at grade 6. We wanted to increase grade 6 to 7 sections, but right now we don't see that we're able to do that. And at the high school, we have a retirement, and we moved one of the history teachers into that particular area of retirement. So what I had stated at the evening there is that we had 20 positions that we were losing, and right now it looks to be, the way over the course of the last couple of days, it looks to be 14 bodies that are, that will not be filled. Actually, the ESPs, we've actually got it down to 6 positions now. As of Friday, we were able to maneuver what we had in there, because when special ed came calling, we really wanted to make sure that we had the 20 that were allocated for the William P. Gorman. So, as I stated, the budget does change as things goes, as we go along through this time frame. We will see what opens up in regards to if any resignations or any additional retirements that may happen down the road, but we're working on it. I heard a lot of great questions tonight about, class sizes and various things that you do, but you have to remember that one of the things, if you go to pull it from here, you got to take it from somewhere else, and that's where it's difficult in a system that we have, because we're trying to make sure that we keep our programs alive and not eliminate programs due to these areas.
Go ahead, Mr. Wall.
So do you project any classes being 25 or more?
I do. I'll
What
project
grade level?
We're probably at the lower grade levels, we're probably, if you're in a 6 section, you're probably looking at 25, 26 students.
What grade level?
So probably I would say at this point, we're going to anticipate grade 2, grade 3. If it's not 7 sections, if it's 6 sections, then yes, it would probably be grade 3 would be it. Grade 4, because this year grade 3 was at 26, and it'll just go, and that was 6 sections. And grade 5, I believe, had 7 classrooms, but we had to reduce one of those positions, so they're probably at 26. As far as kindergarten goes, we don't have the full numbers yet,
Right.
because people are still registering, but if we were able, one of our goals was that if we had 25 or 24 students in there, and we were able to have that second body in there, that would reduce that down on the per capita.
And last question, what is the capacity of this building for both schools? Is there room to add teachers, or is every room pretty much accounted for anyway? If we wanted to expand a grade or bring in more programs, would space be an issue, saying we just don't have the classroom?
Well, at the high school
capacity?
level, that's not an issue, because the high school, the teachers do not own their classrooms. They have spaces that are worked out for them, and so you would move, it would be a scheduling process on that. At the middle school level, we built 8 classrooms per grade level, so we have classrooms.
So there's capacity to,
There is capacity that I'm familiar with on that I believe.
Mr. Barron?
I have a couple of questions. The maintenance field position that's being created, is that, you're saying that he or she will fill the custodian position?
So what I'm going to do on that is, because we had a retirement at the Fort Banks, and that position, I just feel that position we have to get that position into the budget as we move along, because once the field is completed at Thanksgiving time, yes, we'll hit the winter, but there will be other issues that will happen up in the fall. However, if we bring that position in now, we will be able to utilize that person as a floater between the Fort Banks School and the and the ATC school, because both schools only have 3 custodians. So it'd be kind of nice to share between that for the fall.
So it's difficult for me to agree with putting on a field position when we're losing, teachers and paraprofessionals in the classroom. So I don't think it's a priority, and I think if we can use our DPW in this consolidation and our custodians to take part in that, so we're in a better position on a different budget. I also want to see if we can look at what the athletic budget is and how we deal with fees, and how we're looking at fees in relation to other school districts to see if we can keep more teachers in the classroom. So I know you're a short time here, but going to your next job, but as we move forward, I would ask you just, to look at that, because I think it's important that we look at more at the educational aspect of it and still retain the athletics, but see if we can look at fees. No, it's not a popular thing to say, but.
You want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just support you, Mr. Perrin, in that, we're committing to not decreasing programs, and the programs I'm assuming you're talking about would be band or drama or the sports programs or, you know, these kind of things, then.
STEM, music,
Right.
those areas.
So, any sort of non-mandated
Right.
program, right? Then we'd be looking at, well, how do we, you know, reduce our subsidy for hockey, football, you know, whatever the more expensive sports would be, you know, our band and drama paying the activity fee of $100, and should they be paying more?
They
You
pay
know,
125, right?
Or 125, pardon me. I mean, I think it is our responsibility to have this discussion. It's not popular, but if that's what gets parents to the meetings and to write emails, then that's what needs to happen. Or what needs to happen is for the residents to come to the town, and President Driscoll, I don't know if you'll be supportive of this or not, or to come to the town and say, it's time for us to pay more taxes, or to pay more fees, or for some sort of revenue generation, because it isn't okay for, you know, elementary school or middle schoolers to be having, you know, 26, 27, 28 students in a classroom. That's not okay with me. And to not have the support of a paraprofessional in a classroom of 26, 27 kids. So the discussion has to come down to, are we raising fees? Are we eliminating award-winning programs? I mean, our drama and our band, and, you know, and our athletes, you know, are winning awards. And I think the argument comes back to us that says, well, parents aren't complaining, and students aren't failing. We're actually doing pretty good. You know, our academics are up, and we are winning these awards. So how bad could it be? And I just think some of us see us rolling down this road of, you know, we don't want to be responsive to something tragic happening, or to a failure in academics or something else, and then say, oh, we should have had the override, or we should have raised fees. So I appreciate your question, and I think it brings up discussion, and it is our responsibility to have the discussion. Let me have Mr. Vecchia, and then we can go back to you.
There should be another mic down there.
I agree.
You're good, you're on.
I agree with you know, Brian bringing up the subject of the, you know, the maintenance person for the field, because I brought that up several weeks ago, and I know you've been working on trying to fit that in other areas with the schools. But I brought it up in terms of saving a couple of positions, whether it's ESPs or a teacher or whatever. And I also agree with an item that you brought up several weeks ago relative to, you know, looking at outsourcing transportation, possibly looking to outsource the janitorial services within the system. You know, we should look at these things and have an active committee looking into the possibility. It may in the end not make sense, but then again, it could make sense. So I think we should, you know, don't leave any stone unturned in this current situation where we have this shortfall. Because, you know, I lose sleep over the fact that we're getting rid of 7 ESPs and teachers, and that really bothers me. I look at these letters that we get, these emails, and it really bothers me that we're losing these teachers and really not taking a hard look at other areas within the budget.
And I just want to make it clear that I'm not looking to eliminate athletics. I just want to look at what the fees for other communities our size are paying for their activities and their sports program. So we can look and see if we're in line with that. If we are, we are. But if we can reduce our subsidy of it, that would be helpful.
I know we had an athletic subcommittee meeting.
Yep.
We talked about that at the last meeting in regards to the athletic subcommittee, and I believe at the athletic subcommittee, at that time, there was no push to increase the current fees that were there, because we did increase from last year to $225 to $250. We also did increase the budget last year from $26,000 to $52,000, so that we could make sure that the athletics were going to come in at or about break even, because every year it changes. You know, fees go up for various things in athletics, such as referees, and other fees don't. And so we have to pick that revenue up. There was also talk about the idea of maybe looking at a tiered system that really kind of, no one really responded to that. I think, you know, it's in this role, what you hear, and your role as well, what you deal with is that you have different teams. We try to bring everybody together as one group, as a school, and we look at the whole budget as a whole picture and say, okay, yes, there might be 6 sections here, and yes, the class sizes might be 26, but we also have this group of students that needs to have those athletics. And then we have this group of students that needs to be able to play that instrument. And we have this group of students that needs math coaching. And we have these groups of students that need special ed services.
So pick one, right.
So you have to take a look at all of those areas and say, how do we able to keep what we're doing? Now, yes, the easy part for me is to go back into the budget and say, okay, you know what? We can take that 40,000 from maintenance and we can move that to somewhere else, you know, for next year. But we are building a $9.6 million field there, and you may think that we have, DPW doesn't have anybody there that's going to take over to work that field. We're giving 20,000 to DPW right now to handle our athletic fields, and we're probably $10,000 short on that. So those are the things that we're trying to make up into the budget. The other thing that's occurred in the budget too that we've looked at so that next year there is no fall, we have right now currently 9 teachers next year that are going on maternity leave in September. So we took the 20,000 that we put in for long-term and we doubled that to 40,000 because we don't want to leave, we're not leaving any stone unturned. We're going to every area and saying, this was a budget problem this year, let's not make it a budget problem next year. So there are decisions that the different schools make. When you look at the Cummings School, they've expanded out on some of those areas. If you look at the Fort Banks has said, you know what, I'm going to go with one less reading teacher so that I can have all 7 sections of first grade. I mean, those are some of the decisions. Yes, it's not a popular decision by any choice that we make. You're going to have a faction of groups that are going to come in here and say to you, don't raise those, or don't cut that, or give us this. So we're doing the best that we can to make sure that we have it, you know, that we can get where we need to get to on it.
Mr. Holden?
Under your watch, the town has done very well with the schools. You know, we've consolidated from 5 or 6 buildings down to 3. State-of-the-art middle school, high school, advanced out programs, intrusive programs, band, art. Is it time now, and I'll direct this to Mr. Perez, the money people, is it time maybe to bring in like a financial, school-minded person to audit, to evaluate, to suggest, instead of having this conversation every year, to have someone come in and say, 3 to 5 years, this is what I suggest, whether he or she learns our district, learns what we're about, and says, you know what, this other school district does this might work well in Winthrop, and instead of looking at maybe starting cutting or raising fees or whatever, have time for professionals. I mean, Mr. Perez, I'll give it to you because you're doing the whole town, but maybe there's someone that just specializes in schools, school budgets. And if not, if you feel like our money people are doing it, then forget what I'm saying. But what's your suggestion as the professional?
So we are looking at infrastructure improvements in order to make our back-end processes more efficient so that we can direct more of our funding toward the classroom. Because, I mean, there's the fundamental split. You've got classroom funding and you've got administration. The classroom can't function without administration, and the administration is useless without the classroom because it's a school. So we're looking at how we actually do things, from procurement to purchasing to HR, all of those things, looking at what our internal systems are and where we can find savings by making things more efficient to free up staff time to start doing some more of those value-added services of looking and applying for grants, making sure that our reporting is sufficient to be able to meet grant guidelines and all of those pieces. So it's an ongoing process. It's not something that can, I mean, if it was easy, it would have been done. And a lot of times you have to spend money to save money because you have to make some type of infrastructure investment in order to get a better system or build something out to make the improvement. So, I mean, it is something that we're doing. Could we be doing more? Of course, but it costs money to do.
So I'd just like to add that for 6 years, when we went into the consolidation component, we had a chief financial officer, but we never, what you're talking about, Bill, is a school business manager. Now, we have moved forward. Ms. Eccles has done a wonderful job of keeping all of our stuff documented and what we need to do and how where we're at and all of those areas. What we are missing from that part is the forecasting. Michael has come on board and he's done more forecasting for us in the school as he's trying to do that. But the recommendation that I would say, and we have that particular monies in there, if you look at in the, what we pay, we have a $10,000 amount that we do an end of the year report that we outsource. We have a $20,000 amount right now that we currently pay towards the financial component of it. However, that money may need to be looked at and say, well, maybe if we got 30,000 there, maybe we might be able to put a little more if we could and bring in a part-time business manager to give you what you're talking about, to look at those particulars that say, here's where we need to go and here's what we've done. I mean, we, in all, you know, for what we've done over the last few years with all of these different things, with neither one of us having that, you know, the business manager degree behind us, we've been able to do that. And we've been able to, you know, I look at Rumpelstiltskin, we've been able to take that stuff and turn it into gold at times. And right now, some of that gold is running out because we just don't have the ability to continue to, we don't want people to leave anymore. People aren't leaving, they're staying with us, and those salaries are at a good place. The only area that we may have some revenue possibilities that come in is the international. You know, if the international students come in, if we take a few more at the high school level, that may pick us up a little more money that could buy us another teacher as we come in down the road. But right now, that money that we have coming in is covering us for what we currently have that's in the budget. And so the goal was, you know, this type of complex, we probably would pick up some more people, but if we pick up more people, we want to be able to pay for that as well, so that nobody is losing out on, you know, class sizes or things like that. So to answer you, Bill, those are the types of things you take a look at.
Oh, you know, what I'm saying is, what we've done is remarkable with, you know, with what we have. You know,
Right.
It's done a tremendous job with everything that we have for the town. What I'm saying is bring somebody in that could look and say, you know, the size of your school district should be spending this on this. So your size of your school district, not spending as much as you should be. Someone that has more of a, not necessarily a global, but a worldly view or regional view of all schools and saying, you know what, this would work in your town, it might save you this. But it's just someone outside of our district that would have an expanded view of school finances, strictly school finances. I appreciate the infrastructure stuff, but it might be the programs, and, you know, it might be a tiny little program in special ed that someone would zero in right on that and say, you know what, we could do this better, and I know how. And, you know, that classroom teacher, so you wouldn't know that, as I wouldn't know that, but there'd be someone that would know that.
Right, I agree.
That would,
I don't disagree with you on that.
and we might be at that level, like you just said, we've taken it as far as we can go.
Right.
Now might be time to bring someone in, a consultant. It doesn't, we have to hire him, doesn't have to be a permanent, doesn't have to be retirement, just a consultant to come in and see what they can do for us.
But-
And then you can justify, if you want to go to the town for an override or go do whatever, you can now justify. It's just not our emotional feelings about classroom sizes or outsourcing or.
I mean, what you have to understand is that the town, currently right now, has allocated $900,000 towards the operating budget. They've allocated, or are about to allocate, close to 300,000, or 300,000, maybe 400,000 in capital improvements, one being doing the hub of the coming school to finally get that school up and running for internet access that helps the whole town. because those two schools right now are still the dinosaurs compared to this school. And they have taken that 140,000 that we've taken out of the budget, which is the Chromebooks additions, the textbooks, all of those areas, and said, we'll put those in a capital improvement for you for this year, so that way you don't have to have that expense. So when you take a look at that, you're looking at a $1.2 million increase that over the course of next year that the town is putting into the school budget. Now, the problem is that we started off, 4 or 5 years ago down here. And so as each year is building, yes, we're starting to bring in more money. I mean, 5 years ago, our amount of money that we got in was about $200,000 of an increase to the next year. And then the following year was about $300,000. And then we started to move a little more, and over the course of last year, we got $750,000, and this year we've got $900,000. We have a lot of expenses that we've added, and as I stated the other night at the spring forum, we as a group also are teachers, and we're moving forward. Next year, we are doing 990 hours for elementary school. That cost us money to do that, but it's well worth it for our kids because we're moving forward in those directions. So, yes, next year is a rough year. There is no question about that. But my projection on the budget is that as you move forward from that point on, your increase of your operating budget, if that keeps going up, which it should, that's only going to enhance your budget better as you move forward, because now some of the stuff that we're doing in regards to supplies and materials and those textbooks areas, we have already projected where that money can come from for the following years, because we know what expenses we have next year that we're not required to do after 2018. So hopefully within the next 3 years, you're going to see that that budget's going to increase. I'm going to tell you what brought that operating budget up was your contract. It's about time, because you needed to do it. We needed to do it as a community. We needed to get on that level, because when you compare us to other communities, we're about $6 million short in the operating budget. That's the bottom line. That's the truth. I've done those numbers. I've run those numbers, but it is what it is, and we're not going to make it all up in 1 year. But we're going to do our best to continue to make those areas up. So.
Yeah, I agree. We have a lot to be proud of, and we have a lot of challenges. So, thank you for the discussion. If you want to go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Just a couple of things. I will give you one item that is very good news today, thanks to Jen O'Connell and and Susan Eccles, in regards to the extraordinary maintenance. You know that this year we had 5 students that came in at certain points that we had to deal with and fund that. So we did apply for an extraordinary maintenance, and today we will receive, by the middle of May, an additional $16,279 that will come in. Every little bit helps, that amount of money that will help us this year. Otherwise, if we don't need to utilize it to get through this budget, it's something that we could take a look at as far as a pre-paying of tuitions. And I really thank them for making sure that work got done, because one of the things that you have to understand on circuit breaker, and I say it to so many different groups, I may not say it to the school committee part in the meeting, is that circuit breaker money only goes into effect once you've spent $44,000 or more on that student. And then of that amount, so if you spend $60,000 on a student, you subtract $44,000, there's $16,000 that's eligible for reimbursement in the circuit breaker. However, that reimbursement is based on the state's aid, which could be anywhere between 70 to 75%. And that's how we bring in those circuit breakers that equal about $350,000 or so, because we look at tuition and all of those areas. So, another good thing regarding on the budget, and this one I applaud Ms. Eccles, as well as Mr. Perez and the work that they've done in the town. For the first time, we got an end of the year report. It was audited by Powers and Sullivan, and there were no findings. So congratulations. Thank you. That makes your finance committee very proud out there when they see that, so. Finally, a couple other things, because I'm just going on here. We've been MCAS has been rolling along very well. I will tell you, grade 4th and 8th, who are doing them online, so far everything has gone very smoothly for both groups. And I did a walkthrough last week of watching the 8th grades do their exam. And you know how everybody's all nervous because they're doing it on computer and stuff? That's the greatest thing we ever had them do was on computer, because if you know 8th graders, all they like to do is be on the computer all the time. And because we have, which is another great thing, folks, because not a lot of places have it, Chromebooks in the hands of every student from 6th grade through 12th grade. Our students on a daily basis are using their Chromebooks, and you can see it with the testing. They have no problem with that transitioning into the exam. And they'll be now moving into the math component of the exam in the next 2 weeks. The last time I saw you, the Middle School Drama Club performed. They received gold, so congratulations to them. And we hosted the festival here, which was a wonderful, wonderful day, and we got a lot of great feedback from a lot of communities. This week, starting Wednesday night through Saturday, or through Mother's Day, I believe, on Sunday, the high school drama will be opening up their first production in the Black Box Theater. They're doing Sleepy Hollow. So that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night, Saturday, there's 2 shows, and then on Mother's Day, if you would like to escort your mother to a play for the weekend, you can do that. That'll be upstairs. I want to also wish all our teachers, this is Teacher Appreciation Week. The Teacher Appreciation Day is specifically tomorrow, but I want to thank our teachers. I think our teachers, day in and day out, give their best. They are a very dedicated group of individuals, and I'm really, really proud of the work they do. So if you see a teacher this week, make sure you appreciate that and say something to them. But my feeling is, if you see a teacher any time of the year, year-round, make sure you thank them for the work that they do. So, and finally, I believe that's all I have.
Okay.
Oh, I just wanted to congratulate, when it comes to education, I wanted to do a shout out to Dr. Callis, because that's the highest achievement you can do, and it's great for our kids to see that. And so to have that on our school committee, congratulations. And it's my alma mater, so I'm proud.
She gets a raise now.
We had no appointments under resignations. We did have one resignation, and that was the 7th grade teacher who is resigning for geographical reasons, which is Miss Hinrichs. We will miss her. We enjoyed having Miss Hinrichs with us. But we have 3 retirements, and I'd like to take a moment if I could. Enclosed, please find the needed paperwork and enroll in the early retirement incentive program. I would like also to participate in the sick leave buyback. I would like also to buy back for any vacation days that I have left. If you have any questions, please contact me. And this gentleman is Dominic Passaro. Dominic has been in the system well over 35 years. Dominic is retiring. Dominic was the senior custodian at the middle school for multiple years. And this year, once the middle school, we moved over to here, Dominic has been working alongside with John English over at the William P. Gorman School. We wish Dominic the best, and we thank him for his service, to do that job. He's seen a lot through the years of these buildings, and I know for a fact when I first walked in the middle school and I said, we're going to build a new middle high school, he looked at me like, yeah, okay, we'll see. Well, we did, and so I'm happy about it, but I wish Dominic the best. Also, one of our teachers, you all know Mr. DeMarco, please accept the letter as my intent to accept the buyout and retire on June 30th, 2017. I'd like to thank all the people who have supported me all these years. It has been my privilege to serve our community, Frank DeMarco. And Frank has been our technology specialist at the high school for the last, I want to say 20 years, actually 17 years. And Frank has enjoyed every minute of it, I can tell you that. Frank tells me all the time, he gives me all great stories. Frank's also been our yearbook advisor, our webmaster, and our baseball coach. And congratulations to them today as they beat Swampscott. So I know that if Mr. Speaker is listening, he'll have some bragging rights on the House. because he can tell the governor that we beat them in baseball. So we want to wish Frank the best. And then finally, I want to inform you that I've decided to leave my position of school adjustment counselor at the Winthrop Middle School at the end of the current school year. After much consideration, I've decided to expand my current private practice in Gloucester to a full-time practice. I'm grateful for the opportunities to work with very dedicated teachers and administrators, as well as the other school adjustment counselors and other schools. I hope that during my time, I have been able to contribute to helping students navigate many challenges of middle school. I wish you all the best in your new position. Sincerely, Barbara J. Amaro. And Barbara has been an adjustment counselor for 11 years at the Winthrop Middle School predominantly. And we wish Barbara the best. And we thank her for her service. In the middle school, an adjustment counselor works round the clock on multiple issues. And I'm sure she'll look forward to that time that she's going to gain from coming back and forth to Gloucester on a daily basis. As far as postings, we had multiple postings over the last few weeks that we saw: substitute kitchen worker, webmaster stipend, the Winthrop High School long-term sub for special ed, Winthrop Middle School summer program positions for the 2017 Summer Learning Academy, long-term sub grade 5 teacher, because right now we're about to hit 7 maternities at the end of the year. Our staff has changed. ATC grade 7 math, Winthrop Middle School, and Camp 4 staff postings. That is all I have.
I'd like to make a motion to approve
Sick
sick bank buyback for Don Massaro.
Correct, he's the
Is
only
there a
one.
second by Mr. Perrin, all in favor say aye. Any discussion on the motion?
Second.
Mr. Perrin already seconded it. It's getting late. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. All right, we good?
We're good.
Okay. All right, next up, we have new business. We have a new policy. The first reading of the substance use prevention and education policy is in your packet. Tonight would be the first reading. Would you all like me to read it?
Motion to waive the reading of the substance abuse prevention and
Second.
education policy.
Motion to waive, second by Mr. Vecchia. All in favor of waiving the first reading of the substance use prevention policy that was in our packet, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next in our packets, we had the 17-18 school committee meeting calendar. This is kind of a draft. It's not necessarily set in stone, but Ms. Hames and I reviewed the calendar for through the next academic year and picked out the most appropriate dates for school committee meetings. I'd like to make a motion to approve those. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Capianco. Any discussion on the motion? Just of note, the summer school committee meetings will be held in the Harvey hearing room at the town hall. All in favor of approving the school committee meeting dates for the next academic year, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. I made the motion. Did I make the motion? I made the motion, Mr. Capianco, second. Thank you. Approval of student handbooks. The student handbooks were in our packet for review. I think Mr. Curley was nice enough to make a cheat sheet of some of the changes. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the student handbooks.
Second.
Second by Mr. Perrin. Any discussion on the motion of student handbooks? Dr. Callis?
I have a few, like grammatical corrections that I guess I can send to Ms. Hems. But also, thanks.
I'm a little concerned about the dress code and the way it seems like young women have a significant burden to have to be thinking about what they're wearing. And I really do feel like this should be left up to the parents. You know, we're talking about like open back dresses and strappy tank tops in elementary school. I feel like that might be a little bit too detailed, and we should trust parents to help students make their own decisions. I especially don't like the fact that it's mixed in with other like offensive t-shirts. I don't think that revealing clothing should be seen as an offense, and I don't think it should be connected with detentions or things like that. So that's my concern that I'd like to discuss.
Do we need to vote on that this evening? Can we hold off, or we have some questions.
I think we can certainly table it and find out, I don't know if you can tell us, Mr. Massaro, is that written in response to an event or experiences, or can you
What I
clarify?
can tell you is that you'd be surprised what the dress, how students come to school on a daily basis on certain things. And so we're very particular, and if these have been put in there, it's probably been put in for a reason from the principal at the elementary school. We can certainly have somebody come in from the elementary school to talk about those specifics on it, but I get really nervous when we say we're just going to leave it up to the parent on what it's going to be, because, you know, your idea of what it could be is far different from somebody else. And so therefore, I think it's important to have some guidelines. And we use those as guidelines. We don't embarrass any child if they come in an outfit that's inappropriate. We have ways of dealing with that, and we'll talk to the parent, or, you know, we'll go through that process. But I think that that's important to have some guidelines.
I do recognize that we are helping students learn how to dress appropriately, but I would at least like it so that the language would be changed a little bit to be more using terms like recommendation and away from this idea of offense, because I don't want to even think about a student having to go to detention or being pulled out of class because they're wearing a strappy tank top and it's hot out. So maybe if we could revisit that language, maybe recommend it to the policy subcommittee or something like that.
That's fine. I mean, I know for a fact we don't give them detention or different things like that, but if it may not sound like that by the way the policy is.
Mr. Perrin?
Can I make a motion, we table it to our next meeting?
Second.
Yep.
The,
Second by
handbooks.
Mr. Vecchia. Any discussion on the motion to table this to next? I would just say that I think it is, I think the way we word things is important, and if it can maybe be discussed to have it in a different section or a separate paragraph or something, that there is a difference between wearing a tank top and wearing an offensive label, you know, maybe a curse word or something. So I appreciate that you brought up the fact, and I think we can table it till our next meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. It looks like it unanimously passes. Update on the interim superintendent search. Just to summarize, we said here tonight that we would invite 4 candidates for interviews on Monday, May 15th, and 2 more candidates for interviews on Monday, May 22nd. These are all first-round interviews, and that's the latest on that. Under unfinished business, the wellness policy, what I'll say about that is the wellness committee had our first meeting last month, and our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, May 23rd. We expect to have our draft of the wellness policy, which is mandated to be a policy by June 30th, 2017. So that's going to need to be finished up in the wellness committee and brought to this committee for review and approval sometime in June. And mostly the wellness policy talks about nutrition and physical activity. So this substance abuse policy that we're discussing tonight is a separate policy, but in my eyes, it's sort of a sub-policy of the wellness committee. The policy that you'll see coming out of the wellness committee does not talk about substance abuse or bullying or things like that. It's mandated that it be talked about nutrition and physical activity. So more to come on that. I hope it will be on the first meeting in June agenda. Is there any public comment tonight? Ms. Chavez?
I just would like to request when Ms. Haynes does the agenda for the interviews, would you kindly put the names, the full names on the agenda, so that I like to Google them, so I know something about them before you do get, because I understand there's all public information. Anyways, and the other thing is, I know you people really like it here, but, and you're going to be in the hobby for the summer, and I understand because the schools are closed, but I think you really need to take a look at a change of venue. As you can see tonight, passing back and forth that microphone is not the most convenient thing for you to be doing. And it's sad that it has to be done, but unfortunately it does have to be done. So I don't know where another place would be that you would meet. I have no idea, but I think maybe you should stop and think about it.
Is there any other public
My
comments?
only comment is, I can see that you're not ready to even be voting on a budget for next year. It sounds like you're still at ends. Do you have any idea when you might be getting closer?
I mean, the budget is out of our hands at this point. We're waiting to get our final numbers back from the town, and we'll have more discussion, and it will be unfolding.
Stay with that. And you said $140,000, is that what you said, Mr. Zero?
Yeah, there was 102,000 that was put in, and then 36,000 in the capital.
I can only find 102, so,
There should be another line item that he had in there that was 36,000.
okay,
Yep.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. On to public relations, Mr. Vecchia?
The only thing I'll say is the Miller Field project, there was a couple of rumors out there that it was behind schedule. It is not behind schedule, folks. It is on schedule, on budget. I got an email tonight from Vinnie Crossman, one of the co-chairs, and he informed me that all of the processes in terms of the field house, the permits and so forth are rolling along in a very positive fashion, and that should be ready by the spring of 2018, and we're still going with an opening of Thanksgiving Day 2017, period.
I don't have any, thank you.
Well, I'm going to give a shout out to Gorham Fort Bank School for holding another walk to school day on Wednesday, May 10th. One of my favorite events ever in the Winthrop Public Schools, and I hope that parents will take the opportunity to walk to school from various locations in town, if not from home, on Wednesday, May 10th, and also as the weather's turning nicer, to walk to school as often as possible. And then it looks like also at the Gorham Fort Banks, the PTO is having a family literacy and math night this coming Friday from 6 to 7:30. So just a shout out to the PTO again at Gorham Fort Banks. They always do an excellent job of organizing academic but fun-related activities for the elementary school.
You get to wear your pajamas.
And you get to wear your pajamas, so maybe I'll go. So I think, and I also want to say we're getting emails about senior week. There's the prom is coming up, and
Yeah, I was going to go
you
through that
wanna
on the 22nd
walk us
with
through
you
that
all.
because we've got a lot of stuff on our calendar. So that's it for me, Mr. Holden.
I just want to say, I didn't know Barbara Amera, but Dominic, known Dominic for a long time. You know, for an old building, he kept the boiler lit and the lights on. He will be missed in many ways. And as far as Frank, I've talked to Frank a few times, you know, over the course of my term here. But Haley and Will, my twins, love him. They were just engaging, inspirational, and so it's kind of the first, I think my first two to really have Mr. DeMarco as an instructor. I'm not sure, but I know these two have, and they speak very kindly and fondly of him. So he'll be missed. Another veteran teacher will be missed.
The only thing that I have is that the town council public hearing on the budget will be on May 23rd. We moved the meeting ahead 1 week, so that'll be on the 23rd in the Harvey hearing room. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Massaro?
Good.
Motion to adjourn? By Mr. Capiano, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Callis. Any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Good night.
Good job.